It's Monday noon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and I'll be setting you free. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
This is Agents Hour with Shane Thomas and Abby Iyer.
Hello, everyone. This is Agents Hour. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday. I'm Shane. I'm here with Abby.
What up?
And you can see we're in person. That's different. Also, we are in a new location that you've probably never seen before. So Eric from Code Rabbit was gracious enough to let us use the Code Rabbit studio. So
yeah, we're currently in the Code Rabbit office, and we're in this crazy studio that is way too cool for us, but it's awesome. And look at this. This is not a background.
Yeah,
this is real.
This is a legit view behind us. So, you know, we're stepping up our game a little bit thanks to some help from Code Rabbit. But we got a jam-packed show, like always. You know, it's not normally we do this on Mondays. Today's Tuesday. We had some traveling yesterday, so we rescheduled, but we have some guests from Micro. So you might have seen their launch. If not, you're gonna see, you're gonna learn soon. It's pretty viral launch that they had.
2.7 million views.
I don't know.
Sick video.
It was nuts.
It's gonna be amazing.
We're gonna talk a little bit about agent frameworks versus agent harnesses, what the difference is, how do we think about it at Mastra, and then we'll go through all the news, all the drama, just like we do every week.
Yeah. Kind of weird to be like, usually when we do this in person, we're like sitting next to each other, you know?
Yeah, and now we're like, I feel like I'm actually just like hanging out with you. We're talking, but it's weird. All right. With that, maybe we should bring on our first guests and we'll get into the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
And while we're loading them up, I'll give a quick little introduction. We have Brett here. We have Naveen. They're from Micro. And they're going to tell us a little bit about what is Micro. Tell us about the launch. The launch video was sick, so I want to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the tech and kind of behind it. You know, spoiler, they're using Mastra, which is great, but also want to know just like how do they build it? What's going on under the hood there? So, Brett, Naveen, welcome to Agents Hour.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I can start talking about what is Micro. As has been the case for most non-technical founders like me, I became technical in November, but it's still way above my pay grade to describe any of the amazing stuff that we've been doing under the hood. So I'm going to let Naveen take over most of that stuff. But the main thing to know about Micro is two very simple things. It is an all-in-one tool that organizes itself and gets work done for you. So the history of all-in-one tools is we've had Notion, we've had Airtable, we've had these other types of tools, but in reality, they're not all in one. Notion isn't the best CRM. It's a great note taker. Airtable isn't a great note taker. It is a good database system. Micro is true all-in-one. And I'll show you the product in a sec. It has a full email client with unified inbox, read receipts are coming, all the fancy features that you expect in like a superhuman. It has a full CRM with full enrichment on every person and company you've ever interacted with in any of your meetings and emails. We have a LinkedIn integration that's coming back that lets you manage your DMs in LinkedIn. We have tasks, we have docs, project management. We have a very fancy AI system that we'll get into, obviously. And we have meeting note-taking native. So true all-in-one. And that gets the work done for you and organizes stuff for you. Part is very simple. We have a very, very powerful agent built on Mastra that does a lot of awesome stuff for you. So we have been basically in private beta for a couple of years. This is, as you can imagine, a very robust build out. Superhuman themselves took 4 years to get to market. So we're ahead of the schedule and about quadruple the surface area. We did our public beta launch last week, I guess, and went really well. We had 2.7 million impressions, tons of people jumping in using the product, and before I get into the product, any thoughts or questions about that?
You know, for something that does so much, why'd you call it Micro?
Yes. Okay. So Micro, our actual entity name is Micro Applications Inc. And the whole idea started with this observation that, we have this productivity overload in the world, and we're kind of gaslighting ourselves about it. We think we're bad at our jobs if we don't get to inbox zero. We think we're bad at our jobs if we're not setting up these robust Notion workspaces. Now in the AI world, it's like, did you set up your OpenClaw crazy setup or not? And if you haven't, you're stupid. And the reality is, most people haven't done this. Most people will never do this. Very few people get to inbox zero. Very few people set up advanced Notion setups. Very few people who will go through the trouble to set up an OpenClaw. And so we're gaslighting ourselves. And so if you look at all of the problems in productivity, email is the center of the mess. It is the most used productivity tool. And we realized it was fundamentally misunderstood. And this is the crux of the whole company. This is really the thesis that we built on, is that email is not just a list of messages that you have to just plow through. and mark done and have an agent mark done and plow through. It's actually a system of record, and it's a super app, right? So email is the largest CRM, email is the largest travel management app, email is the largest fundraising app, hiring app. It's the largest, one of the largest developer tools apps with all the GitHub notifications you're getting. Like whatever it may be, email is probably in the top 5, usually in the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I feel like you described my life. So for, I spent the last 2 weeks, I built a master agent just to try to get me to inbox 0. That was the whole purpose of this agent. And I had 12,000 unread emails when I started, and I'm down to like, no unreads and whatever, but it was such a tedious task. And so I can deeply feel the pain of, feeling like I'm an email failure because I had so many emails, I just wouldn't read them. I would just look at the important ones and just let them live for, forever as unread.
Yeah.
And so, I feel the pain you're trying to solve.
I have 11,000 right now, but that's just my problem. That's a personal problem.
Yeah, I had 12,000 and I spent, a few $100 on tokens to get it
Dude,
done.
I resonate with this product so much because, at different startups in the past, people try to like shoehorn, like, for example, like, oh, because we have Airtable, we're gonna do everything in Airtable because they don't want to have like this context switching of different products. I've been at companies where you use Notion as a database and your note taker and everything. And then eventually, because it's not built for that case, it just decays, right? Your use of it decays. The team isn't down to keep doing it because it's suboptimal. And then you move on to the next product you want to shoehorn everything in. And then that fails. And then you go back to Jira or some bullshit right there. Yeah. And so like, I'm super stoked to see a demo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our thesis is that like in the age of AI, especially AI coding agents, what has been unlocked with the micro team, but also what users can unlock and build themselves on top of a product, the ability to build pro-grade productivity tools across the stack is now possible. Yeah, that's the kind of why now moment for us. But yeah, like just to wrap up the last point, like email is a system of record, email is a super app. So largest of many of these categories. And so we said, well, what if we could just restructure the data in email so that the apps that you actually use it for feel like the apps that you would want them to feel like. So shouldn't your sales emails be like a CRM in a Kanban format? Shouldn't your GitHub issues be in like a task board format or something like that? And so the magic of what we built, and I'll let Naveen go into details of this, is we built everything on a graph. We're talking a lot about context graphs. The entire system, from emails to people to companies to docs to automations to agents, are all objects that have interconnected, have their own properties and are interconnected, and that allows us to do very fun things. So let me just get into the demo.
The moment everyone's been waiting for.
I'm so stoked for this.
Yeah, let's see. We didn't do a lot of prep, so this is a real look at the product.
That's okay. That's the best kind of demo, is the ones that are real.
Yeah. Okay, so this is micro. First thing to note is, by the way, if you are elite hacksaw, you can configure micro to look like you would want it to look as elite hacksaw. I'm pretty sure we're the only email client or CRM with this feature, but usually go with like Mathletic or this one works fine. But you can see right off the bat, like we have full email calendar, tasks, contacts. We even have that little GitHub thing for all your email sending activity.
Oh, that's cool.
You have, for all of the emails you have, or for all of the meetings, you have these little, icons here that indicate there's a meeting note taker that's going to join the meeting. So the meeting notes are great because they get auto tagged to every person and company that's in the meeting, and the agent ingests them and can do RAG search, can pull them directly, and obviously it's a full-featured email client, like I mentioned. So you can use it just like you would Superhuman or Gmail. We have this thing called autofill, which is I mentioned email is an object with properties. These are 2 properties on it. Status basically says if you need to take an action. So this is just like an FYI. I don't need to respond to Wiz, even though he's one of my investors. We have information on Wiz here. And you can even go to a company profile and you have full profiles on people and companies. So here's all my history with A16Z. Here's every person that I've ever interacted with at A16Z. These are all my emails with them. These are all the meetings that I've had with them, documents. We even have like files, links, tasks, these other things, all interconnected, and we calculate relationship strength, like how strong is your connection to them. So where does a lot of the magic happen? Naveen, like, and I helped a little bit, but mostly Naveen's like sprinted ahead of our launch to get automations out. And you guys have probably noticed like Codex launched automations. I mean, the whole thing about like OpenClaw was about automations. That's what makes it feel proactive. And you know, everybody's launching automations right now. So obviously we had our own. And the very cool automation that Devine and I both independently kind of came up with is this automation called, actually, so starting simple, you could do very simple automations like tell me the weather every day and then generate a photo of me in my clothes that you know that I have because I have access to my email based on what I should be wearing today based on the weather.
Very cool.
And look at this. You got the Mostra live stream at 3:15. The all black mink coat combo is going to look fire on camera. Should have brought the mink coat. I was a little optimistic about it. It's a little hot in New York, but this also, yeah. So this is a very simple example of an automation. The very advanced one, which I think is where you're going to see a lot of players go, is we call the daily orchestrator. And so what this automation does is it basically checks everything, notes the time, and then basically comes up with a bunch of automations or one-time tasks to send the user. So it basically ran today and set up, you know, here's today's plan. You know, it audits itself and says, what can I learn? It updates its own prompt. It notices a bunch of things. And then you obviously had it noticed the live stream, which clearly is very excited about this live stream because it also sent a live stream prep automation. So here's information about Shane, right? You know, what is Mostra? I don't know why it needed to remind us. You know, demo and talking points. Micro's AI automations, best demo, right? Great. We're doing that. We're doing this right now. Micro 2.0. Okay, we just, you know, whatever. We talked about that. Multi-agent workflows, context docs. Oh, that's a good idea. I'll explain that in a sec. And oh, the AI native CRM. So yeah, it's really, really awesome. I asked a follow-up question. What are Shane's recent posts on X? It has an X integration, so it can pull all your connections and read people's recent posts. Ask him about compaction. So I've been seeing you posted, friends don't let friends use compaction. And honestly, we use compaction in Micro's agent system. What's your case against it? Hopefully we'll get there. But yeah, this is a good example of what it can do. I'll stop there and before I get into the final couple things.
Yeah, well, for those that are just joining, I see, you know, Brad's in the chat asking what did he miss. We're chatting with Brett and Naveen from Micro. They just launched. It's an all-in-one app that does basically, you know, all your productivity tools in one. Built on Mostra. We're going to talk a little bit about how they built it. Seeing a demo right now. There's a few other, if you're in the chat, we'll get to your questions. So this is a live show. We appreciate you dropping us a message on YouTube or on X or on LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this. And yeah, we'll talk about it.
This is very impressive.
Yeah, dude.
This is so cool. I love the automations. Like, it's kind of bringing that OpenClaw type of style heartbeat into something that's just accessible, right? Like, man, that's so cool, dude. This is so cool.
And this solves, you know, I would say one of the biggest challenges for me is I do a lot of calls with customers. If you've been watching the show, you know that, right? And I constantly am searching Slack. I'm searching our, meeting recorder apps. I'm searching emails, and I'm connecting all that context myself. And we have a lot of it pull into like our CRM as well, but it doesn't ever feel like it's all connected. It's kind of like stitched together. And so it kind of works, right? But there's a ton of wasted time of just trying to piece this stuff together. And of course, I could build and I could spend more time stitching them together, making it more cohesive. But it feels like this, by the looks of it, everything's in the right spot. If I can go to that customer, I can see all the past meetings with them. I can see the notes all in one place. That's pretty powerful.
Super powerful.
That's the exact idea. I mean, I think one way to think about it is the Apple versus Android discussion, which is Apple's approach is like everything just works. Like you're going to use the Apple Notes app and Apple Keynote. Most people use that because it's just, hey, this just kind of works. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. Is Apple Notes as good as, I don't know, like a special note-taking app or something, Notion or whatever? Probably not. The special thing that I will say, and we're going to call our shot on this show right now. We've never said this publicly. Actually, I did tweet this today. With all of the things that are in Micro, probably within the next couple weeks, Micro will have the most advanced memory system in the entire industry.
Nice.
And as you can imagine, everything's in one place, but Naveen can get into that. Let me just show you a couple quick things. Obviously, one of the biggest use cases, the first use case we focused on was CRM, because CRM's a mess for early stage companies. Like most people use Notion or Google Sheets, but they're building AGI, which is insane to me. So the nice thing about the CRM in Micro, aside from it being fully integrated with your email and other stuff, is that we have autofill and auto add, which means when an investor emails you and you have a fundraising pipeline set up, it'll automatically add them and update all the information about them. So it makes it really, really easy to add all this customer stuff. So when you finish a meeting, when you get an email, soon it'll be hooked up to other triggers. You can update all of these things automatically. And then the last thing I will jump into is context docs. So we have our equivalent of the MD file. We call them context docs. You can actually add any number of context docs to this, and these appear in context in the agent as just like quick hints. But you can create context docs for everything. So this is my fashion style profile context doc. So the agent read through all of my spending, like my things that I bought over the years, and basically identified the sizes and the things that I tend to buy, which is how I was able to generate that very accurate image of me. We obviously have, like, you can import your ChatGPT memories. You have your writing style, obviously. And the agent will use this to kind of, do as you would expect with these types of docs. And they also exist on the lists themselves. So you'll have a context doc for your sales, context doc for your fundraise. So that's it. So I'll turn it over to Naveen and you guys for more questions.
And we got a question in the chat. What's Micro's website? So here it is.
Yes.
Micro.so. If you want to check it out, go there. Let's see what other.
And by the way, we just I guess 20x'd the AI credits that we're giving out right now, because we just want people to try it out and see how they like it. Now's a great time to onboard.
I think we're going to become users right after this call, honestly.
I'm thinking through.
I'm trying to sign up while you were talking.
I'm thinking of this agent I built over the last week, and just like the pain I felt going through my 12,000 unread emails. Well, I didn't, my agent did. But still, it was like the pain is real. I think that maybe 5 to 10 years ago, it would have been really hard to build this all-in-one app. But I feel like now is the moment where the AI, the LLMs are getting good enough. It's a little bit faster to write code, ship good quality software, and I feel like you could actually, the dream can maybe happen now. Where I don't think it could have. This couldn't have maybe happened 5 years ago, or it wouldn't have been very good, right? You'd have to have too huge of a team. Google hasn't even done it, right? It's just this could be a moment.
1 year ago. Try 1 year ago.
Yeah, even 1 year
Before
yeah.
November. Before November, to be honest.
Yeah, and that was it. Kind of lines up when in December I just noticed like step changes in the models. I mean, there's so much that I think could make this possible now that wouldn't have been before. And I know I've seen other people do similar things, right? There's a couple people trying to do this, and I think someone's going to get it right. And it seems like you definitely have a good, from the demo at least, a good start on finding something that definitely clicks, at least for me. So there's one question in the chat. On the CRM part, is there personalization for pipeline and other things? So I'm assuming, can you like customize the pipeline at all? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So there are properties. One kind of interesting thing about when you're going through a paradigm shift or you're trying to build the next X, like a new document editor, you actually have to build in a way that's similar to the previous one so people know how to use it. Yeah. And so we model a lot of the functionality and even interactions off of the tools that everybody uses, like Google Docs, Notion, Airtable, and those types of things. So it should feel very familiar and very easy to set up and customize.
Yeah, you can also use the agents to just ask the agent to customize it for you. So something we did is to make sure everything the user can do with the UI is something the agent is also able to do. So just talk to the agent, talk to the chat, and ask it to customize for you, and it will do that for you in the app. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. And one more question on the ATIO comparison. How do you treat channels other than email? Is Micro omni-channel?
Channels other than email, like other integrations, or?
Yeah, I guess, good question.
Yeah, so I think the key differences between us and ATIO is, number one is we're a general purpose tool, but we think we're excellent for CRM. ATIO doesn't really have a email client in it. You wouldn't use it to do your daily email. The other thing is that we have some integrations coming that are mega powerful that nobody else has. So LinkedIn and WhatsApp. And we also have the X integration. So Micro's, I think, one of the only CRMs where you can import your connections across that many different platforms. And we'll let Naveen talk about this, but I think our agent is like best in class in CRM.
Yeah, and the RAG search too. So right now you can connect your Slack, Box, Google Drive, and all these platforms, and you can do deep search on these platforms. So any messages that you send ever, you can just chat to the agent and it will pull that up really quickly. So there's going to be more integrations coming on that side. So GitHub is coming this week, and Linear is on the pipeline. Nice. So a lot of them are going to be in the product really soon. Yeah.
So 2 more questions here, and then we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about what's under the hood. I know we're already starting to come up on time.
The fact that we have all these questions means you're about to get a hell of users.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a good question. So Brad says, one of the reasons people often use Google Sheets is because if someone's already licensed for Google Workspace, it's basically free. So how do you compare with that perspective?
I would say we're honestly early on collaboration. There are amazing collaboration features inside of Micro. There's live collaboration, so you can see people's cursors as they're moving items around. You can see, you can edit documents together. You will see us do these kind of like, just like anybody can edit a document type thing, but Google has how many billion users? I don't know. We're a little ways away from that.
One other question, is API and MCP support. Do you have that on the roadmap? Is that something you can connect and maybe an external system to Micro?
Yes, that's definitely in the pipeline. So public API, a CLI tool, these are all stuff that we are planning on adding in pretty soon. So yeah, keep a lookout on our website and socials.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue too into Naveen. Let's talk about architecture. Let's see, like, how is this built? Very
Yeah,
ambitious,
let's do
I'm
it.
sure.
Let's
Yeah,
hear what's the high
so
level.
yeah, I'll give you the high level. So we started with Mastra. We're actually still on the 0 version. We haven't gone to V1 yet, but that's gonna be next week. But yeah, we kind of made use of your agent primitives, workflow system, tool primitive, and kind of build everything on top of that. So our main agent, like I said before, we gave access to the full API. So anything the user is able to do. So Micro is really behind the scenes, just objects interconnected with each other. So you have emails, contacts, companies, so these are all objects. So it's very easy for the agent to kind of traverse the graph because it's very natural. Like, okay, you have email coming in, there are people in the email, people work in companies, and like it's all properties attached to each other. So it made it very easy for the agent to kind of understand the graph and like find information, update information. And we just kind of made use of that architecture that we had and just gave the agent full autonomy to like query and update things. And then
Are
we
you
have
using
some powerful
Postgres?
workflows. Yes, we use Postgres. Yeah.
Nice. And like the schema is like a graph like.
Yeah, because we have a layer on top of that, what we call
Mm-hmm.
Prism. It's our query schema. So
Okay.
it is kind of like a custom stuff that we build, and the agent has full access to that. So it's very easy for you to kind of traverse down the references and the relationships with that system. Yeah.
Very cool. Sorry to interrupt. Continue, please.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, I think other things to note is like some powerful workflows. So while Brett was showing you that we do automatic labeling for emails. So when all the emails come in, we kind of run through this master workflow to generate relevant properties and like tags and labels for those emails, which is very useful for filtering your inbox into different views and like hiding stuff that are not relevant to users. Meeting note summary is another one, and autofill in terms of app. So if you have a record in your app and you had a conversation with that person or company, we use this meeting summary to decide, is there any update to the record in the CRM? Is it moving to the next stage? Do we change the deal value? So those are workflows behind the scene without giving away a lot. So that's kind of like the top level architecture. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it all like one big agent that's dynamically generated based on user, settings, configuration, or how do you have multiple agents that depending on where they are in the app, different agents are kind of triggered? I'm curious how you balanced, because a lot of people struggle with what should be a workflow, what should be an agent, should we have a multi-agent system, an agent that calls other agents as tools. I'm curious how you thought about that decision and
Yeah.
how the agent primitive is kind of structured in there.
Yeah. So for certain workflows that are like very straightforward, we have like the dedicated agent for that, but everything else is using the same agent. So if you run an automation, if you run the chat, it's the same agent, but with different context. So if you're running an automation, the agent knows this is an automation. I don't need to ask questions back and forth. I'm just gonna give you the output. But if you are using the chat in the app, the agent knows. So we have like dynamic context injection to differentiate between where the user is accessing the agent from. From our experience, building the single agent and optimizing that has worked out the best for us instead of having multiple agents that does specific things. Yeah.
Okay. We do have sub agents for like,
Yes.
There's a lot of tools in this thing, as you can imagine. So sub agents tend to help, but we're still evolving everything.
And as Sebastian says, this is a common problem, right? Agent versus workflow versus like an agent network is a prime problem. It's a big decision that a lot of people go through and often, have to experiment to decide what fits best for what they're building. I have one more question, and then Abhi, I don't know if you have any more questions. So Brett made the reference and said they're going to stake their claim that their memory's the best, right? So I'm curious, like what's going on under the hood with your memory system where you're really proud of what you built?
So a few things there. So one is definitely the graph system that the agent can access very quickly. So every profile has kind of like an MD file of who that person is, what's your relationship with that person is. Every company has that. And then you have your context documents, which has all the information that you need. And also we have a RAG search system. So we can semantically, the agent can semantically search across all the data points. So a combination of all these gives Micro like that superpower. Like you have the documents that are right there if you need. The contacts are right there. We have all these tools for X and all these things that just kind of works with all these systems. So I would say combining those things together is what gives the best memory system. And specifically the RAG search gives it really powerful, like contextually finding and like semantically searching for answers is really easy for the agent to find things it's looking for.
Yeah, because you have all the you own all the data objects, so you can control retrieval and make it fast because you own everything, which is awesome.
That's right.
Awesome. And I'm assuming you're using like PG Vector for your vector search.
No, we are using a platform called Hyperspell.
Oh, sick. Hyperspell, yeah, sick. Very cool.
So that's what we use.
Okay, my last question was, Brett was supposed to ask us about compaction. So how does that play into Micro?
I pushed a PR last night about compaction. I don't know, Naveen, what's our current view of compaction?
Yeah, we have plans to migrate to V1. So I know you guys have very cool compaction related features in V1. So what we kind of do is our own proprietary compaction system where we have a token count and we summarize messages and kind of give the agent access to go back and read any pre-existing message. This is something we are experimenting and playing around with to find the best outcome. So I would say this is something that we're actively working on and optimizing right now. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I could see some cool like
observational
memory plus your graph retrieval system, like really cool things that could probably be done there.
Yeah, like when you guys upgrade and you have the appetite for it, we'd love to work with you and put observational memory in it, because I can just see how much it will benefit the system. And then you could do less retrieval, and your agent would just not forget.
So I think there's some even, especially with it sounds like the graph system that you have, and the context that it can go get from all the objects. There's some really cool things I think we could do there. But the best place to go micro.so? Is that where everyone should go if they want to test this thing out, sign up, see how it might, see how the system was built, put it through its paces. Anything else that you all want to add before we close out today?
Micro.so to try out the product. You can DM me or anybody on Twitter at thatguybg, and then Micro HQ. We respond directly. I actually give out my phone number in the app. If you click feedback, it's my phone number there.
That sounds dangerous, but like, all right.
I'll text you, bro.
I trust you guys.
I will just say we had Charlie from Conductor on, and he gave me his phone number, and I just hit him with so many feature requests, but he was like shipping things, and I was using it the next day. So be careful what you wish for, but I'm gonna go get your phone number and test this thing out.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna use it.
All right. Well, Brett, Naveen, thanks for coming on Agents Hour. We're going to try it out, I think. And if you're watching this, you should go try it out too. Go to micro.so. And thanks for coming on. We'll bring you on again when you launch new stuff. Definitely want to have you come back.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, y'all.
See ya. Dude, that was cool.
That was so cool. Like, I'm kind of wish this stream was over so I could go play with it.
We're gonna quit early today just so we can go play with the new toy. So there was a question. I guess before we jump into the next segment, which we will do, it's always good to do a little recap. You're watching Agents Hour. If you're just joining, we do this usually every Monday, but today it's Tuesday. So typically noon every Monday, we're here. We always bring on interesting guests that are building agents and agentic workflows, and sometimes they're using Mastra, sometimes they built it themselves. And we just want to learn so you can all learn if you're watching this.
Yeah, and we're also just, if you don't know, we're at the CodeRabbit office. So thank you, CodeRabbit, once again. The bunny's on the hat. And that is the real Bay Bridge behind us.
Yeah.
Just in case you were wondering, you know.
And yeah, that's good plug for CodeRabbit. We use CodeRabbit. We love CodeRabbit at Mastra. You should use it too. Yeah.
Yeah, friends don't let friends not use CodeRabbit.
Yeah, we usually on PRs, it's at this point, it's like, if CodeRabbit says it's okay, it's probably okay.
Yeah, like literally our flow, and I don't know, I guess we're shilling too much, but literally our flow is, don't even tell me about your PR unless you've done all the CodeRabbit comments.
And then it's ready for review.
So it's not truly ready unless the rabbit says so.
But this is a live show. So some of you have already been chatting with us on YouTube, on X, on LinkedIn. Yeah, please send us messages. We'll pull them up on the show. We'll talk about them. And this is a good segue. So we just talked with some guests from Micro, and there was a question here that says, are they using the Mastra harness? And that brings up a good question. Mastra's a framework. Mastra's been experimenting with this new class called harness. What's the difference between a framework? What's the difference between a framework and a harness? When do you need one? When should you use one? And I think that's the next segment. Let's dive deep into that.
Yeah. So this week in particular, and it's only Tuesday, there's been a lot of discourse about the harness, the word harness. So I want to go through a couple blog posts that I've seen from friends and foes, and we will then talk to kind of like our journey in this harness kind of stuff, because we actually had an internal debate last week about harnesses that we had to agree to disagree on things like that. So first, let's talk about this. Let me share my screen here. So ingest is in the harness game. And this is kind of where things get confusing for me, but the title is Your Agent Needs a Harness, Not a Framework. And what I did like about this is it's kind of explaining a harness as a orchestrator of components. And if you look at ingest is a nice orchestrator of steps and workflows, etc. So this take is, harnesses are a way to statefully orchestrate components, and you don't necessarily need agent frameworks or anything like that, because your agent can be a step within the ingest flow. But then that also is kind of murky, and maybe that doesn't make too much sense as well. Then we had, I think, let me switch to this one, and I think this is where things started getting more clear. So this is from Tony K. The difference between agent harnesses and agent frameworks. I think this image right here really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, this kind of clicked for me when we were talking internally around, should we just make all the harness primitives as part of our agent primitive? Should we have a separate harness primitive or class? And I think the idea of, okay, the framework's more modular, composable, swappable, but the harness can be even more opinionated. Yeah. So it's more like even more batteries included, where you can kind of bake in your opinions for this is how you should use it. And so maybe there's a little bit less flexibility there, but you get more out of the box. Yeah.
So, and this is kind of our journey too. So when we first started using LLMs, GPT 3.5 back in the day, there was no agent frameworks, and we weren't going to use LangChain, of course, So what we did was we were essentially tools plus model, and that was just our API flow. We still had to build all these other things. We still had to store the messages somewhere. We had to build an application around this raw code of just talking to an LLM straight up. In doing so, we realized that this is whack to do this and you have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And once you start doing that, people start building libraries and frameworks. And that's where Mastra came in. We built a modular agent framework. And that's cool. You can now have solved that problem and you now can build agentic applications, but it leaves a lot to the consumer to decide how to orchestrate all these components. Because once again, in agent engineering, there's workflows, agents, memory, tools, RAG. Like there's so many subsystems here that you have to have an opinion about how you do that. And everyone can do it differently, and that's totally fine. But I think OpenClaw really showed that you can have a batteries included opinion set and people will love it. Not everyone's interested in primitive development, you know? So you use an OpenClaw, it comes with a bunch of things out of the box. Claude Code, for example, is using a bunch of components out of the box to give you a coding agent. And that's called a harness now too.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the predefined set of tools, the opinions that are kind of baked in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really made it click for me is that, okay, we have Master as a framework, but also a lot of people, and this is going back to, you know, the question is Micro using Master's Harness? They're just using, they basically built their own,
Yeah,
right?
the whole application is a harness.
Yeah, they built their own harness around Master's primitives. And that's what a lot of people are doing today. You take the primitives, you bake in all your opinions, and now you've kind of built this harness around kind of the modular primitives of Mastra.
Yeah. This kind of gets into our argument from last week, because we have a harness primitive that we're playing with, which, you know, if you squint at it, it is different than our agent primitive, but we were trying to justify, like, why does this even exist? And we still don't have a great answer for why we did ours.
The quote last week was, maybe the agent is the harness.
Yeah.
And that's what we were trying to decide. And what I think we've kind of landed on a little bit more, and again, we're still, you know, a lot of words are thrown around in this industry, right? Like, what does a harness mean? What's a framework? What, you know, when do you use certain things or something we landed on is if we can bake in a more opinionated approach on top of our agent framework or agent primitive, then people who maybe just want to take our opinions because they don't want to have to set up everything themselves can get going faster and they can get further faster. That's one of the like core tenets of Master from the beginning is like, how do we help people get further faster?
Yeah. So like the harness thing that we built is actually a coding agent harness. It's not truly a harness by this definition. It is an opinionated way to build a coding agent that we use for Mastra code. So if you're using the harness, it will change. I'm just letting you guys know now that we're learning more. But yeah, like, because, you know, an agent can be dynamic in context. Like even the guys at Micro were saying that you have single agent that is dynamic in context, tools, etc. And it's the application they built around that becomes what this harness is, because as users using Micro, for example, we are leveraging their opinion set on putting all these things together, and the agentic application there is the results, right? Coding agents are that's like the primary use case now for harnesses. That is, you know, you have different modes if you're doing open code. You have compaction if you have that, like you have different types of settings there, background processes, etc. So and that's a batteries included thing, because why would you want to write your own? Why would you do that yourself for coding agent, right? So to take this one step further, our last kind of thing here is, where's this?
And there's a few good chat.
We can stop for questions.
Yes, chat message. So Brad says, I guess I'm calling harnesses engines. To me, OpenClaw is an agent engine, which uses systems. Analogy is like a fuel system, AC, etc. And you've kind of talked through like a car analogy as well that we've talked internally a bit.
Yeah, like I felt it was really useful to talk about this in the real world instead of Ralph loops, because Ralph loops are a harness actually, you know, a very simple one. But like in your car, there's something called a wiring harness, right? That pretty much orchestrates all the subsystems of the car. You turn on your car, you know, there are lights, there's a dashboard, there's all these subsystems at play. And, you know, you have a harness that connects them. And there are multiple harnesses within a vehicle. And each subsystem could have its own harnesses, which I'm a car guy. So it made sense when I was thinking like that. But then I talked to some people at Monster, they're like, I don't care about cars, so I don't really understand that. So it's like whatever makes sense for you is what you should try to resonate with it. But like also, you know, in our industry right now, remember when RAG is dead, context engineering is alive. Harness this, harness that. I feel a lot of these things are for people to stay relevant in a conversation, and it honestly confuses users, confuses us, which is whack.
And Sebastian says you could translate this into a framework gives you abilities, a harness builds on these abilities, and might favor some abilities over others or even restrict them.
Yeah, that's a great.
So yeah, that's definitely a way to see it. Is there's it kind of builds on the core primitives of the framework and allows you to bake in even more opinions.
Let me pull up the last. Oh, yeah, let's keep the questions coming, y'all, too. That's really good. Let me pull up the last blog post here. This is.
And
here we go.
Terrell has a question. So you will make a harness SDK soon? Question mark.
We have one, but we will evolve it. That is the thing that we're kind of saying.
So we have a harness class, and it's labeled experimental because we are experimenting with it. But it will change. It'll get better. We'll try to bake in even some more opinionated features to make it. Ideally, you can grab it and you can go really far with it if you want. And then, of course, if you need more flexibility, you can always just fall back to the primitives that it's built on top of.
Yeah. So I'm going to share this last blog post, which then, like, if the first one didn't really make sense, the second one makes sense. This also doesn't make sense. So it's like a different definition. So this is from Viv. I think he works at LangChain. Can someone please define a harness? Agent equals model plus harness, which is a completely different definition, right? So, if you're not the model, you're the harness. I don't agree with this blog post, but it just shows that there are so many different opinions here in this space. A harness includes things like system prompts, tools, skills, MCPs, bundled infrastructure, orchestration logic, hooks, and middleware. I wouldn't call that a harness. Maybe some parts of that are, maybe not. So
yeah, I mean, it kind of breaks down because often if you look at Claude Code as a harness, you're going to take the harness and you're going to maybe add additional things to the harness so it does break down a bit for me. Yeah. I mean, I get where they're coming from, but that basically means that we've had a harness the whole time.
Dude, I guess, yeah, monster's a harness, I guess, by that definition, but people just want to sell deep agents these days. So, you gotta introduce new terms to confuse people. Like maybe we should do that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think also it's like everyone's getting all this information and everyone's using these words in different contexts, and then it gets muddy. Which is why it's confusing. Like, what technically is a harness? And I think that as we've seen, there's 3 different definitions we just showed from 3 different sources, and they all can claim there's some credibility. Yeah, that's why I think there's definitely an overlap between what's a framework, what's a harness, what's an agent harness. Yeah, like we used to debate what an agent was last year, and then it became agent is LLM plus tools running in a loop. Yeah, that was the simplest definition. Yeah, so now an agent equals model plus harness. Okay, maybe the harness is all the tools, workflows, all the other extra stuff. And maybe you can bake in a lot of opinions in the harness. Yeah, and allow others to extend it. Like the analogy can definitely go, but it confuses us. So if you're confused, And maybe that is a good definition because you can have multiple harnesses within a system. So, if this part of the system is agent equals model plus harness, that agent operating in a different thing can also have a harness. And so, it's very confusing right now, but I'm sure it'll get more clear as more people write blog posts and have opinions. We're definitely going to try to do what's right. And I don't know what right means yet, but we want to do something that makes sense. It's approachable to the user, doesn't make you second guess yourself on using it or not. And it should be composable, modular, and that's what we're trying to do. All right. Take some questions. Yeah, if anyone else has questions, please drop them in. We have, so been looking into the harness and its concept on events and actions. How do you guys do the integration with UIs or the TUIs? In our harness currently, the harness itself has what's called the display state, which is the current state. And because we think harnesses are stateful execution, you have like the current state of what should be rendered. And then you bring a rendering engine. So for us, when we did master code, our rendering engine was a TUI that just uses the display state of the harness.
and that's kind of what we did. But you could build any kind of UI off of a state object.
All right. And with that, that's framework first harnesses for today. Still more to unpack.
Yeah.
Still more to learn. We're experimenting with a bunch of stuff over here. I'm sure you're all experimenting and learning as well. So
yeah, and if you discover something, hit us up on X. We'd love to talk about it.
or join the Discord. Let us know. And with that, yeah, should we go to the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This is Agents Hour, and we're on to the news segment for today. It's Tuesday, March 10th. A lot has happened in the last 8 days since we did this. So if you're tuning in, you're probably trying to keep up just like we all are. As you can see, we've got a sweet view here. If you're just tuning in, we're in the CodeRabbit office. They were nice enough to let us use their studio. So this is a real view, and yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't want to pay $25 per code review, use CodeRabbit.
And with that, let's jump into the news. There's been quite a bit going on, as there always is. So we'll end up rushing through some of this because we just can't cover it all.
But there's some wild stuff in the news, y'all, today.
Always is. There's always some drama, always a lot to talk about. So here's a little preview. Let's jump in.
The first one is so funny.
All right. First one. Meta acquires Moltbook. What?
Dude, what?
What?
What? Are we in a simulation, dude? I think Karpathy said it is an early singularity, right? And I wonder what's going to happen with Moltbook. Is it Acquihire? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like an acquihire, but I saw a joke on the post that says like Meta's user growth stalled, so they needed more users. So now they got agents as users.
Yeah, they need fake users, dude. Is it weird that Meta keeps just failing at everything? You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I don't know really like how Manus is working out for them, but that
Oh, they're the ones who bought Manus?
yeah, I think
That's
so.
probably
Right?
the one thing they did
Yeah,
right.
that one might be actually, that was like one right move that they did, but yeah, I don't know if Moltbook is going to be it, but we will
Can we just like go through the timeline of Meta's failures? Like Llama, Scale AI thing, hiring a bunch of people and paying them millions of dollars, then firing all those people. Anyone remember that? We've covered it in the news. You can go back in episodes. And then now acquiring this. So we'll see what happens to them next.
yeah. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, so Meta acquires Moltbook. There's posted there's a TechCrunch article, an Axios article, a whole bunch of different places where they've talked about it. So last week, you've probably seen this. OpenAI released GPT 5.4. So that was a big deal. Right before that, they released 5.3 Instant. And then they released GPT 5.4 Thinking and GPT 5.4 Pro.
Dude, 5.4 is legit. I've been using, I guess we're going to talk about this later in the news, but I've been using Codex a lot more. And 5.3 was cringe. In the tweet, it says it's less cringe. Yeah, because 5.3 is cringe. But also, what I realized with 5.3 is it doesn't keep you in the loop on what it's doing. It's just thinking and doing and thinking. So if you're not like fully pilled on letting, if you're not fully pilled, you're going to feel a little weird because like Claude will always tell you exactly what it's doing, even if it's doing something stupid. So you it's harder to steer. But 5.4, it does.
You've been using 5.4 with Master Code, or nice?
Yeah.
I've used quite a bit of 5.3. I haven't really tried out 5.4 yet, so I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah.
But I've been also using a lot more Codex than Opus as of late. One of the things that came out though about 5.4, it has a 1 million context window, which is huge, bigger than the previous, but they're evals show that needle in the haystack, which is kind of a bad eval, a bad test in my opinion, but it's also like the simplest. It's like, can you just like go in all the context and tell me this one thing I said?
Yeah.
You would think that that would be a pretty easy thing to be good at a benchmark. It actually starts to break down quite a bit depending on the amount of context you send. So this idea of like context rot is real. After 200 and some thousand tokens, it really starts to drop pretty dramatically. So it's why I liken this thing. So it's a good idea to compact regularly, or just never have to compact.
Compact.
That is friends don't let friends use compaction.
Dude, my context window is like 40K tokens, and I'm living life beautifully.
Yeah.
So I don't really care if it's a million context window. I'm not going to use it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever touched more than 30 or 40K for memory, and then 30K for your active.
Yeah.
And it's like 70K or less and everything.
Dude, when 4.6 context window came out, my compaction took like 3.5 minutes. How is that bullshit? Right? Like, don't use compaction.
And it's blocking,
And it's blocking.
Weights, you gotta
and
wait.
they put a little freaking death skull.
Yeah.
That's how they even know that it's death,
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
The funny thing is, like, I use, candidly, I'm using Master Code for all my coding, but I still use Claude Code because it has a nice, Claude desktop extension. So I can go and take these screenshots. Any screenshots you see here was, thanks Claude Code for doing that for me. But about halfway through, I hit compaction, and I showed Abby as I was like building the slides. I was like, no, we hit it again. So just don't compact. That's better. So GPT 5.4 can communicate back to the user while it's working on longer tasks. So there's a new phase parameter for this to help you identify whether this message is a final response to the user or a commentary. So people are using this in Codex. That's cool. The Codex app is now on Windows. Windows, you can now play with the rest of us on Macs. So it's funny because I keep hearing people like saying like Windows users get no love. And it is true. Like nothing gets released on Windows first anymore, it seems like. It feels like you always have to wait to get the good stuff on Windows. Codex security is now available on ChatGPT Pro accounts. So that's a cool feature. I don't know. And Codex has this new thing called forks, where you can fork your current chat history directly with custom multi-agents in just a quick prompt. You just say, fork this session using sub-agents, and it'll kind of allow you to just do that. That's cool. And this was kind of an interesting thing that I saw last week. OpenAI is apparently developing an alternative to Microsoft's GitHub after dealing with outages. There's a lot of GitHub outages, a lot of things that have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Good luck. That's what I would say. Good luck. This happened to OpenAI last year. They had so many or whatever. They're doing so much, and then what has happened to all those things?
And then it became code red, and they went back and they stopped doing so much. But I think Anthropic just keeps shipping so much that I feel like OpenAI now thinks, and again, they're not shipping this. They're just, this is a rumor, right? Like maybe it's happening. I do think, it is wild to think that almost everything runs on GitHub, it seems like.
Yeah.
And not everything, but a huge percentage, like a very large, got to be 90% of software, it seems like, is being shipped through GitHub.
Yeah.
I made that stat up, but it's a large amount. And so I think there is definitely room in the market for something, and it would have to be someone like a newer company like OpenAI or Anthropic to ever have a chance, I think, to kind of disrupt it.
Maybe Cursor.
Maybe Cursor, like a newer company to maybe like give a slightly different angle on what shipping software should be. Because I think software is changing, right? I think we can all feel it. I ship software way differently now than I did 6 months ago. So maybe there needs to be new tooling, but I think it's an uphill battle for sure. And I guess with that is like one of the things that I've been seeing more and more, and we talked about it last week on the show probably, or maybe 2 weeks ago, is that more and more people are starting to see Codex in the wild much more.
Yeah.
I'm going to send that to Codex. I'm going to, let Codex work on that. Where it used to be like, oh, I'm going to let Opus cook. I'm going to use Claude. So I feel like Claude is starting to lose a little bit of ground to their dominance, at least, to OpenAI. but Claude keeps shipping.
Yeah.
So Claude just released Code Review, a new feature for Claude Code. So when a PR opens, Claude dispatches a team of agents to hunt for bugs. So this got a lot of hype. They released the ability to run prompts on a schedule. So basically just while loops for agents, which agents already have loops, but now you can essentially just schedule things in Claude. So that's cool. They released Claude Marketplace. So Claude is also going for OpenClaw. Like they have Claude Cowork, now they have Claude Marketplace. They're trying to fill the same void as, the hype that OpenClaw, I guess, connected on.
They're really just trying to take any business and take over the world,
Yeah, they're doing everything.
Yeah. I felt that way about OpenAI last year, and now I feel that way about Claude. Just trying, or Anthropic.
Which does make me wonder if they're going to, like OpenAI, are they going to spread themselves too thin?
Yeah, I don't
Let's
know.
see.
I mean, OpenAI just really raised that big round too, so
Yeah. I don't think it's going to slow down.
I don't think it's slowing down. So if you're building a product, you better be building a lot harder and faster.
Yeah, I mean, it is wild. Yeah, that is one of the things that I think everyone who's building in this space thinks of is, how far away are we from OpenAI and Claude launching something that's going to be directly competitive?
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, we think about that quite a bit because we're overlapping in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So they've also launched. They had this memory thing, but they also launched the ability to kind of like import into Claude from other providers. I don't know how well it works, but apparently it's kind of this ability to like import memories from previous providers. They're trying to go after people that are using ChatGPT, right? They released voice mode in Claude Code.
I don't know if the thing's changing actually.
Oh, I'm seeing it.
Oh, okay.
Weird. Got a whole bunch of chats as well, so let's try to reshare. Technical difficulties. All right.
Oops. We gotta take
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So yeah, Claude Code released voice mode, which I think is going to be. I enjoy kind of just like talking my thoughts out and knowing that I can just like say completely unstructured stuff and then send it off. I usually use things like Super Whisper or whatever. Haven't tried Claude Code's voice mode. I don't use Claude Code very much anymore, but a little bit here and there. But that is interesting. I think voice is a good way for you to like communicate unstructured thoughts really quickly. It's a little awkward though, like when you get used to like talking to it, because I feel like, I feel like I have to be more thoughtful if I'm speaking out loud, but then you just get used to saying like just babble whatever you want and like it'll like pick up the pieces for you.
I was seeing like, before we left to come here, like Joel was like speaking like, oh, move this, add a popover, put it here and do this. And it's like, oh, that's the future. I'm not there yet personally.
Yeah, I don't.
I cuss too much. That's probably why.
You can't. It doesn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
We talked last week about Anthropic's issues with the Department of War and all that drama. So they released a report. This was last week on their response. So they believe they have legal standing. This is going to play out. It's going to take a long time. I think Anthropic's probably going to roughly end up in the right here, but I think it's the damage has still been done, right? I think that is where it's going to cause some people to hesitate, especially if a lot of their money is based on government contracts of whether they can use Anthropic's models or not, and we'll see where it all lands.
I also think the screen share is broken. So
it just stopped. The screen share stopped working.
Technical difficulties.
All right. Well, that is unfortunate. All right. We will pause for a minute. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching Agents Hour, we're going to figure out why our screen share has stopped working, and we'll be back.
This segment's brought to you by You're on TVPN. You're on TVPN. You're on TVPN. I just wanted to do that live.
Yeah.
I did it like 5 times already, so
So can you see my screen share?
no.
Nothing. You couldn't see the whole
Yeah,
time?
yeah. Well, I thought it was just me. Yeah, it was there for in the
It
beginning.
was there at the beginning? All right. Yeah, we're in a new studio. We are trying to figure things out. And yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Let's see if we can get this working. And if you're watching live, thanks for waiting and hanging out with us while we figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, when we this will look great. No one will know that we had all these technical difficulties. But if you're watching this, you know what we're up against.
Yeah, and Carlos and Sebastian have had really good questions today, and so thanks for being here.
Let me try like reloading Riverside. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Okay, well, Carlos has a question. Can we keep going with UN harnesses? Yeah, ask a question.
All right. We're going to try again. We'll see what happens here.
There we are. We're back.
See it?
Yes, back in business.
All right. We had to do a refresh. But we're back, everybody. We are back. We're still doing the news. We're still here. If you stuck with us through the technical difficulties, thank you. All right. We're going to talk about how everyone seems to be building coding agents or some kind of offshoot of a coding agent or some kind of coding agent-like tool. So Theo released T3 code last week. Got a bunch of views. Theo's doing it. Must be cool. Fully open source. I did like, it feels very conductor-esque to me, superset-esque, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't tried it, but obviously got quite a bit of hype. There's a new OpenAI repo called Symphony. It's like an orchestration layer that pulls project boards for challenges and spawns agents. So it's kind of like a linear for agents, right? So it's not really a coding agent, but it kind of is because you just now have a linear board that just executes tasks for you.
I think I think that will be a very defining primitive for agents next, which is the ability to input a task list from any data source and then operate autonomously on that task list. Coming to you soon.
Yeah, and then just being able to, here's a bunch of tasks, works on it in parallel, gives you a bunch of PRs. I think that's definitely going to happen. So Open Code's been released something. So they released workspaces, which, a lot of people are talking about workspaces and what workspaces should be. Usually, includes some kind of like directory, sandbox, skills primitive type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all kind of tied in. So congrats to Open Code. Haven't tried it, but it's cool. Swix had this post, which is this kind of concept of last year was the year of the agent. We talked earlier, like maybe this year's the year of the harness, but also like maybe it's the year of the sub agent. It's like, how do you actually get networks of agents to work together? And all the coding agents are trying to solve this problem, right? Like you can spawn multiple sub agents to go out and do these tasks, just like we talked about. But I think it's kind of highlights a bigger problem, which is like we're gonna have even more code now to review and to figure out. So it's like somebody needs to kill the code review and make something better. What happens if humans can't review all the code? Yeah,
true. And also subagents bring like this problem of like memory management. Like how does the context go to subagents? Some people, which is funny because we've heard this from our users, some people don't want the subagent to have any context and they just operate in a silo, while others want the shared context between the main agent and the subagent. So everything has to be configurable and there's no right way to do something, which is always the wrong answer to tell somebody. It depends.
So there was a legendary mathematician, Donald Knuth, I don't know how to pronounce that, reveals that Opus 4.6 solved his long-standing conjecture. So the idea that LLMs can't do math maybe is wrong, but it's definitely not, because I know LLMs suck at math still. I've noticed it If you ever ask an LM to do math, just seriously check its work. I asked it a like pretty detailed question, and then I looked and I was like, that can't be right. And then as I pointed it out, it says like, oh yeah, we're off by a decimal place. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you have like a long multi-step problem and it gets off by a decimal place. So I think it's like, obviously it can do some amazing things, but you should still like question everything, especially around having it do math. So cool that it could solve some problem that was basically unsolvable before though. So is that AGI? I don't know. Math GI. This is AI related, even if it doesn't say it, but GitHub announced last week that it's true. TypeScript surpassed Python and JavaScript to become the most used language on GitHub. This is obviously driven heavily by all these vibe coding platforms, which default to using TypeScript as kind of its default. It does seem like a lot of coding agents will prefer TypeScript and kind of check itself, the type safety. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it's kind of interesting to see that now it has officially become the most used. I don't know how they actually measure that. It's like lines of code, projects that use it. Like how do
Maybe
they?
different the repos having it.
Yeah, because I know like they'll tell you like this percentage of the repo is TypeScript, so they factor that in somehow. So yeah, TypeScript ships. People are shipping a lot with TypeScript.
TypeScript ships.
That's cool. Let's talk about some AI products and platform stuff. So Raycast announced something called Glaze. This was last week. Create any desktop app in minutes by chatting with AI. So you can basically just build an app on your desktop through that.
Why do they call it Glaze though? It's kind of a weird name for it, but
Glaze. Raycast, Glaze, I don't know. But I think it's cool. Building a desktop app. Just vibe code your desktop apps now. Google Workspace,
This is
CLI.
huge.
So you can basically use Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar, and every workspace with your agents, because your agent just knows how to use the CLI.
yeah. And this kind of, I've been saying internally here, it's like I think CLIs are all you need or whatever, because it's so easily introspected. And people were using Google MCP server. You have to do auth. I mean, you still have to do auth here, but like then you have to figure out what methods exist, and now you could just do -- help. The agent can introspect things itself.
Copilot Cowork, which is, I don't know, not the best name in my opinion. I think people are making fun of the name.
Yeah.
Like Copilot, Cowork, Collaborative, it's just like all the C's put together. But Microsoft obviously wants to, they don't want Anthropic to come in and compete with them. It's funny that they announced with the same name as Anthropic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Copilot Cowork.
I'm getting sick of any Copilot type thing,
Yeah. There are, I do know, like we do have master users who I hear are using Copilot. So
Envious Code,
I
or
mean,
just
more just like all the like Copilot tools. I
Yeah.
think there's like more than just the coding tools, but Microsoft's Copilot stuff that they have.
dang.
And I don't like naming things, and like anytime I hear products from Amazon or Google or definitely Microsoft, is like I don't know how they all fit together because there's so many different products that overlap but somehow work together. So I don't know. Exadeep, which puts an agent inside every search, so it kind of moves an agent inside your search query. So it's kind of like a deep research agent, I guess, but rather than just doing search, you're actually doing more deep research with agents. This came out just today, Expo Agent. So Evan, we actually saw Evan last night.
They were drinking beers with them.
Yeah, so saw Evan last night. He kind of previewed it for us, or at least told us a bit about it. But Expo Agent released today. Build native iOS and Android apps from a prompt. So anything from React to SwiftUI to Jetpack Compose. You can compile and deploy Apple, Android, and the web right from the browser. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. Can't wait to try this out.
Yeah, I want to try that out. All right, some more releases and funding. So Gemini 3.1 Flash Lite was released last week. It's cheaper than previously, but there's still like, I don't know if you look at it, it's a little fuzzy here, but it's more expensive in some ways than the previous version, but it's cheaper than Flash. Like basically, like I don't know, the Flash. If you look at the Flashlight and the Flash, it kind of falls in the middle a bit. But the benchmarks are really good. Cost is pretty good, and yeah, new Gemini Flash model. AMI, Advanced Machine Intelligence, is building a new breed of AI systems that understand the world, have persistent memory, can reason, plan, and are controllable and safe. So they raised a bunch of money.
$1 billion.
That's a B.
Oh, is that in euros? Oh no, that's 890 euros. Interesting.
So, yeah, they're basically centered around world models. So we've been hearing a lot more around world models.
Yeah.
They're wild. The coolest things to see is like a world model that actually works and is like cohesive, and you can just like be dropped into a world that you just created. But we'll see what comes of this. But yeah, it's a lot of money. You do a lot of damage with that. We'll just breeze through this quick. But
This one's so funny.
OpenClaw's, yeah, you take it. OpenClaw is becoming popular in China, apparently.
Yeah, so in Shenzhen, the government is pretty much sponsoring startups that use OpenClaw. Why is that? I wonder. I mean, Shenzhen obviously very like popular for startups in China. That's where a lot of AI labs are from in China. And we also saw some Chinese models embrace OpenClaw, like Kimi Claw. And now, Shenzhen's Long'an district government has just released 10 policy measures to support OpenClaw. And these, the OPCs are the this is a new word for degen, OPC, the OpenClaw users, which is cool. I mean, if you all want to move to China and make moves, do it.
Yeah, that's OpenClaw's still around. People are still capturing some excitement.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about this in the past, so I'll just breeze through it. But yeah, job postings for software engineers are still actually rising. So there's this narrative that jobs are decreasing, people are firing people, and that sometimes seems to be the case, but also overall jobs are increasing. So maybe it's a lot of like the middle and smaller companies want to now hire engineers. Like hard to know exactly, but it's just an interesting data point that goes against the common narrative that now there's no jobs for software engineers, at least not yet. That hasn't proven to be true.
I have a small take on that. I watched it I kind of agree. It's from, I think Jordy said it on TBPN, which is like, if software engineers get offset by AI, then we are going to come for anyone else's job and use our coding agents to then do that job better than the person already doing it. So that's like the bull case for it being okay for us if we have to go be an accountant or something.
So we're going to write software to do it better. So we won't actually do the work. We'll just make it. Yeah, it's an interesting take there. So RAG is broken and nobody's talking about it. So Stanford just dropped a paper on semantic collapse, proving that once your knowledge base hits 10,000 documents, semantic search becomes a coin flip. So this is, kind of interesting of just showing, and I haven't read the full study. I don't know. There's always caveats with these things. Like in this specific case, this does this. But it is interesting to see that, and it would make sense that as you have more data, it's harder to find the right thing. If you've ever, like Google's business is based on having really good search, right? And if you ever go and just like search for something, the top result isn't always the best result, right? Yeah. Sometimes, so even with re-ranking, even with all these things, like it can still fail as you get more and more data points in the system. So Simon Wilson's talking about agentic manual testing, about having agents manually, quote unquote, manually try out the code. It's a useful way to help them spot issues. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and Cursor has that, with their remote use or whatever.
Yeah,
you can run the application.
Make it like demo, do the demo thing.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this? This one came out was it last week?
Yeah,
last week. This was kind of the weekend. The thing that I popped up over the weekend for me. It's this Karpathy auto research project thing.
Yeah, so another Karpathy hit. So he essentially built a self research or auto research, and you iterate on the prompt, and then it can create all the training code. So technically, theoretically, you can start making your own models if you wanted to. But as he says, the code is very experimental. It's very sci-fi stuff, but I'm sure someone's going to take it and run with it. I think we should play around with this when we have some time.
Yeah. And then Justin Polnelt had a post on why you need to rewrite your CLI for AI agents.
You should.
So and this is where he kind of talked about, he built the CLI for Google Workspace, which we talked about briefly, but it's, there's like slightly different, maybe human DX versus agent DX if you're building CLIs. So the idea here is like maybe for human DX, you optimize for discoverability and forgiveness. For agents, you optimize for predictability and defense in depth.
Yeah.
So it's interesting concept, interesting idea.
Yeah, like the one limit here, which I believe I saw Reese talk about at a meeting, and he's an open code, is like if CLIs are away, then you have to know that the CLI exists for the agent to use it. So there's no like CLI discovery, for example. And if there is CLI discovery, then you have to go acquire that CLI, install it, etc. So like I think if you equip the agent and like with skills to both the CLIs that you do know about and a way to go get more, then and all of these CLIs are written for agents. You know, like we're trying to redo our CLI to be agent first. Because I don't even type code anymore like the same way, right? I don't even run CLIs the same way. I just tell Claude to go, hey, run the help command and figure it out. So like I think we're all in this transition period right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes it's just like the agent decides when it's time to run the CLI, right? You just kind of guide it in that direction and it does it. And so we're gonna rapid fire some quick hits. RTK is a CLI wrapper for reducing token costs generated from all your favorite tools.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
More CLIs.
This GitHub file systems is, it's a cool idea. It's not gotten a lot of traction yet, but I think this idea of the agent is better at, browsing a file, a set of files. So if you get your GitHub issues, PRs as a file system, so you say basically offline, and now your agent can discover, it's much more discoverable, easier to add into context. It's a cool idea. I think there will be more things like this that'll take off until the CLIs are better, until the APIs are more approachable for agents, or there's a better syncing for you to do this out of the box.
Yeah, because like GH CLI is not for agents. Like it has to, like it oftentimes makes many mistakes to get to the right command, right? But if it had all the issues there, PRs there, etc., you'd be fine.
I do wonder if like the GitHub CLI should just have this sync, right? It's like, hey, just keep this on your file system, sync it upstream.
Yeah.
And you sync periodically or whatever, but now your agent has like a relatively up to date, all the data local that I can just like browse through. That's kind of interesting concept. WorkOS is leaning heavily into AI stuff. They've raised a bunch of money, so
congrats, Michael.
Yeah, shout out to Michael. We talked about this a bit. It's this idea of like, is it time to kill the code review? I think we talked about it, maybe a little bit last week as well, but this in this post they talked about how code shouldn't be written by humans and code shouldn't be reviewed by humans.
Yeah.
So it's like, there are obviously tools, we're in the Code Rabbit office, tools to do better code reviews. But what happens when, like, should humans be involved in the loop at all?
Yeah, it's a really good point.
If you have enough agents looking at it from different angles, is that better than a human looking at it?
True.
We only look at it from like our perspective, which is we have more context typically of the whole system, but maybe that'll change.
But we don't have a truly AI native code base because we started when we didn't have these tools. But if you were to start a new code base today that was purely AI driven, maybe it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just start letting go actually and seeing what happens. Probably bad things, but
well, I mean, I think that there was also this. Yeah, I saw a post today. I don't remember where it came from, but there's the idea of like there are more issues being shipped by some of these larger teams because a lot more software is getting out there. It's hard to keep the context when everything's changing faster now.
Yeah.
And so there's more and more regressions being shipped into production by big teams. We've seen a lot of outages with Anthropic and all these things. You can't tell me that some of that is not just like they were just moving really fast and didn't have the full context because they're able to ship so much faster now. But the question is like, how do you prevent that from happening when you know that there's no way any one human's going to understand all that's going out now? And even before, if you're on a big team, you don't know all the code that's going out. Like your little bit, your little like window of what you worked on, right? You have an expertise area. And now it's like, but the code bases are getting bigger because we can ship more software. So you're going to know even a smaller sliver of that.
Yeah, like we're getting increased PR contributions and issues created, and it's not like the PRs are slop. Thankfully, like unlike other other repos that we hear, but it's just like the user who opened it does not have full context. Their agent doesn't, and if you squint at the PR, it may look good, but then it doesn't actually. What's the intent, right? There's no intent in these things. So if you can architect your system where the context, much kind of like what when Naveen was showing, you have context documents, personalization, etc., then anyone should be able to come in and contribute and review, but not yet.
I do think that over this year we're gonna see more and more people start to say we don't have humans review PRs anymore unless they're like at least like it'll start with like all like PRs under this threshold just get up. If it passes, if all the agents say it's okay, and then these bigger refactors or bigger like features, maybe there's still like humans involved, but I think there is going to be even more tooling around making that better. And I think we haven't really figured out all of what's needed, but
maybe a human's job is to define requirements and the test cases. And that's all. You just keep iterating on that. And then the agents just write, review, ship, check CI, green, ship, and go for it.
So Steve Yegi released this wild idea called Gastown. Maybe you heard about it a couple months ago. Now he released the Wasteland, which is 1,000 gas towns. Wild ideas. I don't know. I don't think this is how we're going to ship software, but I don't know. I thought it was humorous the first time, and now it's like it's not dead. They're actually building on it. So a lot of like outside contributors too, I think, contributing to it. And with that, that's it. That's the news. Follow us on GitHub. Go give us a star if you haven't already. Go to the Mastro-AI YouTube channel. Subscribe. Give us a like. This show is on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. So please, if you haven't already, go give us that 5-star review. Only 5 stars if you don't want to give us a 5-star review. Find something else to do. We're okay with that. And follow us on X. That's it, dude. That's the show.
Yeah, it's a fun show and a cool studio, right? I like it. Just to sign off here, I would love to thank CodeRabbit once again. Henrik's over there. Thank you, Henrik. Eric, the homie. Also, everyone at CodeRabbit. Thanks to Bay Bridge. Yeah. Peace.
See you next time.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI agents out with Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The master.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abby, we out of here. Peace.